I'd like to welcome everyone to the UPHCA Pipeline Podcast. This is an opportunity to learn about the industry and the trade, and especially today we have those instructors that have been hired for the Academy. And we appreciate Rob Allen and Kyle Jensen and RJ Martin to be with us today. And we're just going to have kind of an open discussion on what we're seeing. We're into this now 6 months. We're very upbeat and positive with the type of curriculum we're offering and the potential for students to move forward with their trade and their experience and their education. So, Kyle, you've been working with the first years. What are the pros and cons that you're seeing right now?
So right now, I'm very, very pleased to see there is a lot of kids who truly still care. They want to be in the program. They're excited to learn, and they are making me happy with what we have coming into the industry. We have kids who are self-motivated, don't need to be babied through, and they're bright kids. I mean, we're getting really good test scores out of these kids. And I think having Canvas now more in junior high and high school and where these kids have just come out of high school, I think has helped. And on the flip side of that, we definitely do still have some students who aren't in that mold, who maybe need a little more direct interaction to keep them moving forward. So where we can find that fine line of, letting it be self-paced and you're kind of going on your own with guidance from the instructor instead of full-on classroom teaching, it's trying to help those kids who are struggling a little bit with that, how we can make this better for them as well.
All of you have had the experience of teaching in the traditional programs. And this is just to all of you, what do you think are the advantages and the disadvantages of the academy versus the traditional programs at the technical colleges?
The obvious advantage to the UPHCA program is not having to sit in class. As a teacher at Slick for 34 years, I have a lot of students that have had issues with making it to class because in the summertime, especially, they're busy, and their employers want them to keep working and not cut out to go to class, and that's a problem. School is important. These guys need that to be able to take the test. So I hate to see guys miss class because of it, but the schools changed the policies years ago, and they don't allow students to miss class based on work. It's strictly 3 nights. It doesn't matter what the reason is. A lot of teachers, a lot of the schools are sticking to that and penalizing the guys for missing those nights. It's not the guys' faults. They've got to work. They're trying to make a living, put food on the table for their families, and their employers are trying to get their jobs done. So this is a real benefit for people that don't have to worry about leaving work to come to class. It's self-paced. They can do it when they want. It's just a great program. One of the disadvantages of the program is that, or I should say, one of the advantages of school, of classroom, is that you have that interaction with your other students. I know a lot of the students do the same thing every day for the companies they work for. Maybe they've never done any service work. Maybe they've never done any residential, or they've never done any commercial. The classroom gives the guys an opportunity to exchange ideas with the teacher as a mediator on different things, expose them to different things. So what we would ask you guys to be sure to do is ask us, get hold of us. This whole thing is set up for us to be able to mentor you and help you. And if you have questions, if you have ideas, you want to run things by somebody, then feel free to get hold of us. In fact, we would like to encourage you to get hold of us and talk to us about things.
Kyle, do you have anything to add to that, or RJ?
Yeah, I feel the same way Rob did. There was when we were in the classroom and you get these kids who call and say, hey, I'm at work and I'm stuck. My boss is making me be here. And I will never tell a student that way, hey, I don't care. Like, you got to be here. You were 100% right, Rob. You've got to provide for your family. I'm not going to tell a student he needs to be there because my classroom time is Monday and Wednesday nights from 5 to 9 or whatever. So this gives them the fluctuate. I mean, most of these young students have young families. They've got kids. They've got wives who work odd hours. So this gives them the flexibility of, you know what, I got a little bit of time on a Sunday afternoon, or I've got students right now who are telling me they're doing on their drive to work. They're getting paid to go to school. So they pull out their smartphone on the way. We got a 45-minute drive 2 times a day. That's all the school they have to do. They're doing it while they're getting paid from their employer, which is fantastic. I mean, if they can do that and keep their eye, then when they get home, they can focus on other things, and they're still getting everything done they did, but they're using some of that quote unquote free time at work to get school done as well, which I think is awesome.
Okay. What do you see? The academy is building out a lab space with a classroom that will offer different workstations for different experiences and so forth. Do you think that will, in your past experience with a traditional technical colleges, you had lab times? The first and second level, we're typically having them do a lot of those skill pass-offs as a on-the-job verifying by their employer. Is that correct? Kyle, you have several of those out there.
Yep.
Okay. As we get into the third and fourth year, Rob, you're going to provide some more opportunity, more hands-on opportunities so that they can make sure they understand so they can pass their practical test. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So what do you foresee that looking as, because now we've got some third and fourth years that are going to, now that summer is ending, we're going to start getting them into the lab. What do you see that as coming up?
So the practical test is something the state of Utah has come up with to supposedly test your ability to build a project. The reality is we all know that most of you guys aren't going to be building that kind of stuff out in the field. But the reality is they had to come up with something, and this is what they came up with. And so I kind of feel like it's my job to help you learn how to take and pass that test. There's a lot of tricks to taking the test. I've proctored it for the last 3 or 4 years. I've taught out at the community college for 34. A lot of guys, as they come up through the typical program, go into class and they're given a sheet to build, and they really don't get any input other than what they did wrong on it. We're going to try to change that around a little bit and teach you guys how to pass the test. Whether it's practical knowledge or not, it's something you have to be able to do to get your license, and that's what we're going to work on getting done.
Just to clarify, when someone if they decide to take the residential route, that practical test is the same test for both the practical and the commercial. Correct, everybody?
That's correct. Up till about 5 or 6 years ago, the journeyman plumbers had to take as a portion of their test, had to take a brazing project. They got rid of that, and so now the tests are the same. So if you test out after completing 3A to get your residential license, you won't have to take that practical again. You will have to take a different written after you complete 4B or 4A.
And it's just the written will be more gauged towards residential code and commercial code, correct?
Correct. The test comes out of the residential code book versus the IPC.
Okay. So this allows students to maybe move through faster, but there is a caution though that we are finding that they still need to get their experience hours. Maybe one of you could explain that, if you would.
So I think one of the things we're doing with first and second year is where labs are going to be based on the job, what they're doing. setting toilets, running water lines, running drainage, stuff like that. We have built that with a time frame in mind. So it's not like you're coming in for maybe 4 hours. You might have, 30 or 40 hours depending on each segment of the lab you're going to do. So that will be more hands-on, real-world applications, not geared toward the test. We have some exciting new technology coming online that we can actually put a kid in front of basically a VR troubleshooting. I've ran through it twice on servicing a water heater, and I failed miserably. The proctor actually laughed and said, "You give up," and I did. I threw in the towel, and it's the dip tube checking on the water heater. I'm like, it was an electric water heater service call is what the order was, and you get a tool bag, you knock on the lady's door. Like it is as real world as a computer system I've ever seen, and it troubleshoots you, and you've got to go through and figure it out. And so I think this is a way that these younger kids who've grown up with technology could really utilize that. And if we can implement that into our curriculum, that'll give us more tools and better tools really to have more information for these kids to see, and kids learn differently now. We all know that, and so this is a good avenue that we can expand their horizons, I think, a little bit. So yeah, I think we can stretch this to places I don't even think we realize yet. It's just we're coming up with it on the fly, how we implement these things.
The experience, they have to have, let's review the amount of experience hours. They can get 3,000 hours per year, accrue 3,000 hours per year, but really, if you're working 5 days a week, 10 hours a day, that's about 2,600 hours that you can really accrue. It used to be 2,000, but now they can accrue up to 3,000. So we can't waive the experience hours. You have to have 8,000 hours to get a journeyman license. For a residential license, you have to have 6,000 hours. So that's something that as Academy, we can't replace, we can't quicken or anything. What we're trying to do is provide an experience with the schooling that better fits your schedule, open enrollment, some of these type of things that maybe help you move through the educational process a little bit more beneficial to your schedule and to your circumstances, especially if you're going and moving around because of your work experience. So with that being said, we don't want people to get all their schooling done, all 4 levels, and still have a lot of hours yet to get with their experience. So that's a caution that we throw out there for those that are thinking about going into the academy. Are there anything else that you three, all of you have had experience at the technical colleges, so you understand how to teach, you understand the struggles that students have because you've all gone through that. Rob, you went through it, I won't say how many years ago, but you went through it. Kyle and RJ, more recent, but still several years ago. But you have taught, and now you're professionals in plumbing companies, and so they have a wealth of experience, I guess is what I'm saying. And we have some of the best instructor mentors that you could ask. So if you have any questions, please contact us at 801-307-5500 or go online to uphcatradeschool.org and go to our website. But this is an exciting opportunity. We're trying to try something different and move students who are adapted to online learning and feel like they can excel at that and give them that opportunity.